What's up, guys? It's Tony here. Welcome back to Man Cave Studios. I haven't posted recently for all the people that are fans of the original content. Most likely, that's not going to be coming back for a while. I might explain more at the end of the video, but today I made a promise last month that I would do one of these every month, so I'm going to continue with it. What direction the election is heading in right now. So, let me put myself in the corner real quick if I can navigate OBS correctly this time. There we go. Alright, here is the map. And here is the vote count right now. Alright, so, hold on, let me make sure everything is right. Alright, here we go. So right now, Biden has 211 confirmed electoral votes. This isn't necessarily the ones that are going to come up first on election night. Like, they won't be called at the exact hour, but they are the ones that are most likely going to go to Biden. And Trump has 125, and you can see it at the top too. Biden only has 22 likely electoral votes, however, while Trump has 63. But a combined total for both of them, Biden right now would start the race with 233 guaranteed or likely electoral votes, and Trump would start with 188 likely or guaranteed votes. Now, there are a few things that are different about the map this time. For instance, Georgia I labeled as a swing state. I'm going to go over a lot of this in a bit, but there are some states that polls have shown recently are closer than people previously thought. So, Texas was a hard red state last time. This time I labeled it as likely because there was a poll that showed Biden ahead in Texas. I don't think he's going to win Texas this time, but I think that he definitely has a chance to contest in the state. It won't be called at 8 o'clock or whenever the poll closes in Texas on election night. Alright, so anyway, I have polls open in a different tab, so in case you see my face light up a different color because I'm looking at something else, that's what I'm looking at. So, I guess I'll start with kind of the small swing states, and then I'll go to the bigger ones, saving Florida for last. So Minnesota, the most recent poll in Minnesota, I believe, had Biden ahead by 10 points at least. It did, but that was a while ago, either way. But still, I think that Minnesota is going to be blue. We don't have many polls from the state, probably because a lot of people think that it's going to just be blue anyway. New Hampshire, I don't know when the last poll in New Hampshire was, but it looked good for Biden. It was a few weeks ago, April 29th, and it showed Biden ahead by 8 points, which is a massive difference from the last poll, which showed Trump ahead by 2 points. That was taken in February. So I'm going to say that this time New Hampshire is going to be a blue state. Maine. The state itself is blue. 270 to win. The automatic map that it comes up with shows that Biden is ahead in the first district, but not in the state. I think that the state is solid blue because of recent polls. So I'm just gonna say that, District 1 is blue, and we'll just say District 2 is red, just because it's leaning that way right now. Nebraska. A recent poll came out that showed Biden was ahead in the 2nd District of Nebraska, which is the other weird state that doesn't just have a winner-take-all system. It has, the big state, and then it also has the districts. A recent poll came out that showed Biden was ahead by 12% in the 2nd District of Nebraska. If you watched the thing that I did last time, I said that that would be big if Biden won Wisconsin and some other state, maybe Florida, because that would put him at exactly 270 in the case that the race was that close that it would be tied like that. So right now, 12%, I can't really argue with that. I'm just going to show that that's blue. Another poll came out that showed that I think it was either the House or the Senate race I think it was the House race in Nebraska. In that district was really close. But the Democrat was leading by like 4% there as well. So I'm gonna say that that's blue. Nevada, I don't think there have been many recent polls in Nevada. I think that it's still pretty much solidly blue. It's the most recent poll shows that Biden's ahead by 4. The one before that, for some reason, only shows 3, but all of them. A Fox News poll from January showed that Biden was ahead by 8 points. So I'm just going to say that Nevada is going to be blue because there's no evidence to show that it's going to be red at this point. Um, Ohio, I think, is going to be red. There was a poll that showed Biden was ahead earlier in the month, or maybe it was last month. Um, yeah, April 27th, a poll came out that showed Biden was ahead by 1%. Since then, there was a poll that was added on May 11th, which 538.com rates as an A minus grade poll, which obviously the higher the grade, the better, or the more authentic. And this was among 725 registered voters, and it showed Trump ahead by 2%. So that's why this is only leaning red right now. I'm going to say that's going to go red because I don't see, solid evidence that it's as much of a swing state as some of the other ones on this map. So I'm just going to say that it's red um, for time's sake. Iowa's close, but a lot of the polls show that. I mean, there was a poll from March that showed Trump was ahead by 10 points. The most recent one showed he's only ahead by 2. I've been helping with, and this is where you're going to see a little bit of my bias and all this. Um, I've been helping with Teresa Greenfield's campaign for Iowa, and a lot of people think that she has a chance to flip the Iowa Senate blue. Um, I'm going to say that the presidential race is going to stay red because no polls still show Biden ahead, and that dates back all the way to last December. Not a single poll has shown Biden ahead there. And then Texas. If Biden's going to flip any swing state, I think it's going to be Texas. Um, the poll that I referenced was done by a B grade poll. It was public policy polling, which they're very authentic poll. I've looked at a lot of their different polls, and it showed Biden ahead by 1%. But the most recent one, also done by, well, this one was done by Emerson College, which was the A minus poll, showed Trump ahead by 3 percentage points. And then the one before that, done by the University of Texas at Tyler, showed that the race was even. So, because there's only one poll that shows Biden ahead in Texas, I'm going to say it's still red. We'll see how things turn out in the next few months. Um, the key is going to be turnout, especially in places like Austin and Houston and San Antonio, where there's a strong Democratic presence. I don't think it's going to be called at the hour that the polls close. I think that this is definitely going to wait a little bit to be officially called. Even if it does eventually get called red, maybe like 15, 20, up to an hour after polls close in Texas, I think um, that's when the final result will be in. Unless it's closer than we actually do think, in which case the result might not be in until late the next morning, which, depending on how the rest of this goes, or early the next morning, whatever, which, depending on how the rest of this goes, could mean a lot. It could mean that we're in for a long night that night. Alright, so the funny thing about this is every recent poll I've looked at shows Biden ahead in almost every swing state except for Georgia. I think that Georgia is still going to be red. The most recent poll shows that Georgia leans for Trump by 2%, but the one before that, by Public Opinion Strategy, shows Biden's ahead by 1%. I think that it's going to be red either way, just because it's been a stronghold for Republicans in the past. I don't think that it's going to change this election, so I think that Georgia is going to be red. Um, since I said, well, now that that's out of the way, going back to the swing states from last time, these 5 states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida, let's, I guess, start with Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is still very close right now. Biden, in the most recent poll, he was ahead by 3%. But last time I made one of these, I forget. Let me see. The last time I made one of these, Biden was ahead by 3% in the most recent poll. This time he's still ahead by 3%. One, actually, no polls really show Trump ahead. Not, there are some polls that are partisan polls that show Trump's ahead that are done by the campaign or paid for by the campaign, by Trump's campaign, but a lot of them show that Biden is ahead by anywhere from 2 to 5%. So just because there's no nonpartisan polls that show Trump is leading in Wisconsin right now, even though I know Wisconsin is going to try to suppress voters, like they did with that election that they did with the primary a few weeks ago, I think that Wisconsin is definitely going to be red. At least from this point, it looks like Wisconsin is going to be red. Arizona. Arizona's been a weird state because Arizona went for McCain twice against Obama, but Arizona is also a very moderate state. So I think the most recent poll I talked about last time, because I think the last video I made was April 8th, showed that Biden was ahead by 1% in Arizona, because that's what the most recent poll here says. Besides that, since then, another poll came out that shows Biden is ahead by 9%. Even further back, one shows he's ahead by 8%. There is not a single nonpartisan poll, really, that shows Biden behind Trump. There's one that shows him tied with Trump, but that was taken back in January. This year, there has not been a poll showing Biden behind Trump in Arizona. So, if the election were to happen today, I also guarantee that it wouldn't be called at the time that the polls close in Arizona, but I think that Arizona right now is leaning towards Biden. And it probably has to do something with the fact that, there's more of an immigration population in places in southern Arizona like Phoenix and the whole metropolitan area there. So I think that, right now you can't really predict Trump winning in Arizona when polls still show that he's behind. I think it'll be close, but right now I have to give it to Biden. Michigan. Now, keep in mind, Michigan right now would put Biden at 270. Let me see. I don't actually remember off the top of my head the most recent poll in this state. I know Biden's ahead in it. Biden was ahead by 8% in the last poll that was taken on the last day of April, done by Public Policy Polling. A lot of the people that are voting in this election are probably suffering. They're auto workers that are suffering. A lot of them are probably unemployed. Detroit has pretty bad unemployment as it is. And I think I mentioned this last time. The way that people vote in Michigan is based on how they're doing financially, mostly, because Michigan is home to, that's the automobile state. That's where a lot of auto manufacturers work, or people that work for GM, that sort of thing. So I think that Michigan is going to be blue, just because every recent poll shows that Biden is leading by a lot. And that's probably also because a lot of the people in Detroit are a lot worse off now, and the people that live around Detroit, the people that work in Detroit, are a lot worse off now than they were 4 years ago. And that's a very heavy Reagan Democrat area. And by Reagan Democrat, I mean, the people, they don't care about the social stuff. It's about economics. And economically, the country is suffering right now. We are at Great Depression level unemployment, so I think that Michigan has to be blue for that reason alone. Not to mention the polls. Alright, North Carolina. I kind of went out of order here anyway. But North Carolina, the most recent poll shows Trump is ahead. A lot of the polls taken last month show that Biden's ahead. I don't know with North Carolina. I think that it's too close. There's a lot of rural North Carolina that probably doesn't get counted for in these polls, so I think that North Carolina still has to be red. We'll do Pennsylvania next, even though I've gone completely out of order. Pennsylvania. The most recent poll shows that Biden's ahead by 6%. A lot of the ones last month show he's ahead by anywhere from 6% to 8%. Fox News showed that Biden was ahead of Trump by 8% late last month. The most recent one shows that going down to 6%. I guess it kind of depends on how we're voting, because I know personally from Pennsylvania, because I live in the next state over, that there's a lot of rural Pennsylvania that a lot of people don't really think about when they think of the state. But I think the 5% lead right now is good for Biden. It just depends on if he can get people to vote on election day. And a lot of people in Pennsylvania that are Trump supporters are still going to go out and vote. So the question is, will Biden supporters go out to vote if COVID is still a problem? And will Biden supporters, will they go through the process of getting a mail-in ballot and that sort of thing? And I think Pennsylvania has a Democratic governor, so I think the Democrats are going to be well accounted for in Pennsylvania, which is why I'm going to put it blue. I don't think that Florida has a Republican governor, so I think that if COVID still is a problem in November, that Florida is a surefire red state, just because the governor of Florida is going to try to suppress the Democratic vote by any means possible, which is why I also think Wisconsin could very well be red. For the same kind of reason, because the state legislature there would try to suppress the vote in that way. Every poll really shows Biden leading in Florida, and a lot of these polls are close, but I think that they're still significant enough to account for a majority of the vote. Fox News showed that Biden's ahead by 3% in Florida. I'm going to say that that's not enough, just because it doesn't matter at this point, and I'm going to say that Florida is going to be red, which would make this a really close election, closer than last time for sure. Just because of Panhandle, Florida, in a lot of these polls, places like Panhandle, Florida don't get accounted for because they're not near a major city, so polling them is a lot harder. Kind of the same thing with Arizona, but Biden has a huge lead in Arizona right now. I think that the only thing in this map that I can say would 100% not be, or would not 100% be blue, based on polls, would be Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin could very well be red, but this still looks pretty good for Biden right now. If you consider he's leading in this state in polls, he's leading in this state. This is a swing state right now, apparently, based on the polls. Pennsylvania is trending toward Biden. Georgia is not really a safe bet for Trump right now. But on the other side, if you're a Republican, this looks a lot better if Pennsylvania winds up being red, because there's not as high Democratic turnout for the vote. Florida could be red if voter suppression is a thing. Wisconsin could be red if voter suppression does happen, which it could. And Arizona is still a swing state. This would look a lot better for Trump supporters. Realistically, this state is a toss-up. This state is a toss-up. I would still put Arizona being blue. Pennsylvania, I would say, is a toss-up. I'm going to say that the 2nd District of Nebraska is still blue, because even though there's only been one poll there, it looks like it will be Democrat, so I'm going to... It doesn't matter either way, but this could make the difference in case Pennsylvania does go red and Florida does go red, because without this vote, it's tied. Or pretty much tied. I mean, it would basically go to the Supreme Court. Republicans have a majority in the Supreme Court. So if this were to be red, it would be a tie. If it were to be blue, Biden would win. And I think that that's going to be the deciding factor if the race is as close as this, is what happens in that second district in Nebraska. So, my final map right now would be this, because I don't know what's going to happen with, COVID affecting the polls on election day. If it does affect the polls, then I would say, if we have mail-in ballots instead, I would say that Pennsylvania has a Democratic governor. Pennsylvania will still be blue, but Florida will be red. But if we just have a regular election, then I think Florida is going to be blue, because all the polls show that Biden's ahead there by, well, the most recent one, like I said, is 5%, but a lot of different polls show him ahead by even more than that. Some partisan polls show him, trailing Trump slightly or being slightly ahead of Trump. But the fact that Fox News says that Biden's ahead, I guess, really speaks, because, Fox News is a conservative outlet calling Biden ahead in this race. I would say that this would be the most likely scenario right now. So, I forget what I said last time. I know I definitely said that Biden was ahead. The race just keeps getting closer at this point. Last month, it probably would have been a slightly different story. I would have expected Biden to kind of retain his lead right now, or even expand his lead, especially with all the stuff happening with COVID. But yeah, this is, I guess, the way that things would happen if the election were to happen today. I want to respond to a comment real quick. Somebody in the last video said that Trump was going to win 40 states and blow out this election. I don't know if it was a troll or not, but I'm trying to think of a way that that would be a thing. If you go to the original map, these states are not entirely blue, but they're likely blue. So let's just see. Is this even possible? This is a swing state, so let's say that. Wisconsin, let's just say that all the swing states go red, if that's even, possible that this can happen. Minnesota's not apparently surefire blue yet. Alright, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, 13 states that are blue with this insane map. Virginia apparently is not surefire blue. New Hampshire. So, and you know what? The most likely state out of all these to flip would probably be Maine. So let's just say Maine. This is not going to happen. I know for a fact that this is not going to happen. So, yeah, it's not going to be a landslide like this, unless Biden does something to really mess up his campaign, and I don't think that he will. But anyway, that's it for this video. Let me make myself bigger to close this off. Alright. Cool. So yeah, I try to be as nonpartisan as possible in these, but looking at the polls and thinking about how much of the rural vote is accounted for in these polls and trying to come to a consensus between the two, I think that right now you have to hand the race to Biden, 319 to 219 in electoral votes. It doesn't mean that if you're a Trump supporter that, well, I'm not going to say that, but, if you're a Biden supporter, don't get comfy with being in the lead right now. Definitely still phone bank and stuff like that. If you're a Trump supporter, you don't believe anything anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, or anything that goes against your belief. So, anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And yeah, see you next month, because I'm not really uploading on this channel anymore. I said I was going to talk about that at the end. If you don't care, then just click off the video now. But Man Cave Studios is kind of coming to an end. I didn't want to say anything like surefire, like it's over. But I'm trying to move on to a different project now. I don't know what the project is going to be. I'm just trying to move on from Man Cave Studios. Um, we'll see what happens. I don't have any ideas right now. But after AC Media kind of failed, well, I wouldn't say it failed. I would say that it just couldn't happen because as soon as I started AC Media, everything started shutting down. So I don't know what the next step is in terms of videos, what the next thing I'm going to do is, but I guess we'll just see. I'm trying to think of ideas right now, but I don't have anything. We'll see if I come up with something over the summer. I think that the channel is probably not going to be active. Um, I might even move this series over to a different channel if I start a different channel. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't give you a definite answer of what's going to happen right now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'm still going. Well, no, I'm not going to say it because this is a different kind of video. I'm not going to do the outro. See you later, guys.